and welcome to the 2008 Advanced Course in Engineering Cybersecurity Bootcamp Graduation Ceremony. I'm Cadet Dan Gunner, your Master of Ceremonies this evening. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones and pagers for the remainder of the ceremony. We also ask that you cease all port scan and vulnerability scans for the duration of the ceremony. The use of Metasploit is also prohibited. In just a moment, you will be asked to stand for the entrance of the head table. When all of the members have taken their places, I would ask that you remain standing for the posting of the colors and the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of the head table. The members of the head table are Dr. Donald Hanson, Director of the Information Directorate at the Air Force Research Lab, Rome, New York. Dr. Kamal Jabbour, Senior Scientist for Information Assurance, Information Directorate, Air Force Research Lab, and his wife, Dr. Marla Jabbour. Colonel Turu, Headquarters Cyber Operations Director. Major David Bibighouse, Chief, Cyber Defense Branch, Air Force Research Lab, Rome, New York, and Miss Laura Bibighouse. Cadet Kyle Erickson, Air Force ROTC 2008 Ace Valedictorian. Please remain standing for the posting of the colors and the national anthem.
Post the colors!
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched was so gallantly streamed, and the rockets spread glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the
Cadet Steven Sutera, please come forward to give the invocation.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together this evening as we reflect on our accomplishments this summer. Both now and when we disperse, show us your love and guidance. Help us to see your word through our lives so we may know you and grow closer to you. We send a prayer for those who have fallen in the name of liberty and freedom, and we ask that you help their loved ones through their loss. We ask that you continue to watch over our brothers and sisters in arms throughout the world, and that you sustain all those who live in your name. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Cadet Mark Griffin will now recognize those individuals who are unable to be with us this evening.
As you enter the dining area, you may have noticed a table at the front, raised to call your attention to its purpose. It is reserved to honor our missing loved ones. Except for one, the empty place represents Americans still missing from the Air Force. This honor ceremony symbolizes that they are with us, here in spirit. Some in this room were very young when they went into combat. However, all Americans should never forget the brave men and women who answered our nation's call and served the cause of freedom in a special way. I'd like to ask you to stand and remain standing for a moment of silent prayer as the honor guard places the service cover on the empty plate. Please be seated. I would like to explain the meaning of the items on this special table. The table is round to show our everlasting concern for our missing men and women. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when answering the call of duty. The single red rose, displayed in a vase, reminds us of the life of each of the missing and the loved ones and friends of these Americans who keep the faith, awaiting answers. The vase is tied with a yellow ribbon, symbol of our continued determination to account for our missing. A slice of lemon on the bread plate is to remind us of the bitter fate of those captured and missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears endured by those missing and their families who seek answers. The Bible represents the strength gained through faith to sustain those lost from our country, founded as one nation under God. This glass is inverted to symbolize their inability to share this evening's toast. The chair is empty. They are missing. Let us now raise our water glasses in toast to honor America's POW MIAs and to the success of our efforts to account for them. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to introduce a few more distinguished guests with us this evening. They are Colonel Tony Button, Vice Commander, Air Force Cyber Command Provisional; Colonel Michael Carlson, Colonel Michael Carlson, Air Force Research Lab Chief of Staff; Colonel Dewey Parker, Rome Research Site, Detachment 4 Commander. I would now like to invite Major Bibighouse to deliver the faculty welcome.
Good evening, ACE Class of 2008. It is a privilege to be able to address you and speak to you one last time. I know that as a faculty, we've been able to challenge you and keep you up a little bit late at night and perhaps make your heads hurt pretty hard. But I hope that in addition to passing on the knowledge of this discipline, I hope we've passed along some of the passion we have for it. I remember when I was 10 years old, I actually programmed a computer for the first time. It was 700 lines of code written in BASIC, had a lot of go-to statements and what we would call spaghetti code. But I still remember the thrill that I felt the first time I actually made it run, and it worked. And experiences like that, combined with several others, helped build in me a passion and a love for this discipline in this area that has helped me face the challenges that I've experienced through my career. And I say this because in about 1 year, you are going to become computer scientists, computer engineers, electrical engineers. You're going to become graduates in those fields. But in addition to that, you are going to become commissioned officers in the Air Force and leaders. And perhaps the most important challenge and task that a leader will face is going to be to see people through times of change. Now, a computer, if you think about it, does nothing but change. We can take a computer, and it takes every clock cycle some ones and turns into some zeros and some zeros and turns it back to some ones. I began to think about the computer I had in high school 20 years ago, and I thought about how much change it could do. And I thought if I could take a sheet of paper, write down what the machine instructions that it would accomplish and put it in a pile, and if I were to calculate how much that stack of instructions would grow that my computer back in the late 80s would have calculated, I figured that that stack back then, in 1 second, would be a stack that would reach twice the height of the Empire State Building. I thought about the computer I have today, and I realized that that stack would reach twice as high as the space shuttle can fly. And I submit to you that if trends hold, by the time you all graduate, by the time you all retire, that stack will be twice as far as the distance from here to the moon. Now think about that. Those little subtle changes, when added up, can produce something enormous. And one of the challenges that you're going to face as a cyber officer fighting in this environment is the fact that you will be fighting in a world where the slowest thing that happens is you thinking about what to do next. Nobody else has ever done that. That hasn't existed in this kind of warfare. And so you're going to face a world where we need people who can figure out and fight and survive and even thrive in a world where most likely the only battles, the only skirmishes that you'll be aware of are the battles you win. The ones you lose will have occurred, and the evidence will be covered up by the time you're thinking about what to have for dinner tonight or where you want to go with some of your 30 annual days of leave per year. And so I challenge you and say that the first challenge you're going to face is, how do I fight in this environment that changes so fast? But surprisingly, I found that an even greater challenge comes not from the changes that happen so ridiculously, unbelievably fast, but from changes that occur at a very slow, mundane, more human pace. Because I hope the other thing that we've taught you is not just how to hack into computers, but that life is a team sport. And if you're going to succeed in this field, it's going to be as a member of a team. Be it among your Air Force colleagues, among your family, with your spouse. And one of the real challenges you will face is the day-to-day changes that occur in people that you need to deal with and help them through as you solve the very human problems of learning to work and live and ultimately fight together. And I submit to you that you will never be a good cyber officer if you can't figure out how to work with people. But an even greater challenge than that is to recognize that some changes happen so slowly that most people cannot even perceive that they are occurring. And for this, in order to be effective, you're going to have to develop a sense of history. Because you need to recognize history as it is in order to see it happening. For instance, historically, the United States invented the internet. We owned and developed the Internet Engineering Task Force, the Internet Architecture Board, the domain name system, all the things and entities that govern and control the internet is basically an American creation. Watch for what happens to that. Watch for who is going to gain control and how that control, if we lose it, is ceded. It will be important. Similarly, we see China developing an army of hackers. Watch for that. I have a question that you should be looking for. That army, will it ultimately help the regime control the flow of information within their own country, or will it subvert it? Similarly, when we're talking about China, after 3 decades of a one-child policy, China's probably going to be the fastest aging civilization that the world has ever encountered. Now, the question I have for you is, will China get rich before it gets old, or will it get old before it gets rich? The answers to those questions may have profound impact on the threats that we face and the environment in which we fight. But the most important challenge of all, and I submit to you, you will never be an exceptional officer unless you can develop that sense of history. But the most important challenge of all will come to you as you try and live your life according to the principles that do not change at all. Words like honor and integrity and duty. Interestingly enough, those are the things we really wish would change. I can't tell you how many situations I've faced where you have a hard decision to make and you really wish, gee, in this case, I wish that things would change in a way that would be really convenient for me to do the easy thing. And the hard thing you're going to face throughout your career is recognizing that there are some things that are right and there are some things that are wrong. Often those are the things that are hard. And those principles of integrity, the principles of duty, the principles of honor are timeless. And so I challenge you, you will never be a true cyber officer unless you can live your life and lead your people according to those principles that don't change. So I encourage you to maintain your passion. Find it. Maintain it. Let it grow. You're going to need it to face the challenges that you encounter over the course of your career. And it's an exciting set of challenges. We need you to have your passion. It will carry you through. We need you because if we don't, we're not going to succeed and become world-class in delivering sovereign options in airspace and cyberspace. So thank you very much, Kev, for letting me address you one last time. Congratulations. You have done a magnificent job. I look forward to serving with you on the front line.
Ladies and gentlemen, dinner will now be served.
Full 7 weeks. Please welcome our keynote speaker, Colonel John Toomer.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. And as you can see by your programs, I am not Brigadier General Mark Schisler. He's a little shorter, a little grayer, and a lot smarter than I am. So with that, he did ask me to pass along to you his deepest congratulations and his appreciation to the staff here at ACE. And he is a strong fan and advocate of the work that you do here. It is unusual to find such a high-level and intense type of training at the ROTC level. And you're to be congratulated for putting such a program together. What I wanted to do is give you some information and some thoughts that General Schisler had that he'd like me to pass along, and then I'd like to kind of give you an update on where we are at the Air Staff on the evolution of cyber within the Air Force. And then a few leadership lessons that you've gotten a few of them already, but my focus will be a little different for you tonight. So if after this tonight you have any questions, please feel free to grab me, and we can talk as long as you guys want to talk. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere until they haul me off to the airport tomorrow at 9 o'clock. So with that, some of the things that General Schisler would tell you is that in the course of the evolution of cyber within the Air Force, I mean, we've come a long way. We all know that. I was telling Dr. Kamal that when I was in high school that we used to think that 64K of memory was all you'd ever need. When we built a little tiny Timex computer in my electronics lab and figured out that we could do infinite do loops for about an hour before we'd run out of battery life, we thought that was quite something to see. But when I first joined up, and I'm sure when all the other guys wearing Eagles in this room signed up, the fanciest computer we owned was an MD4 with a wind face and a speed slide on the other side, a slugable calculator. But there were no computer desktops, there were no networks, there was no cell phones, there were no any cyber that we could shake a stick at. And as time evolved, 1993 was the first time I saw a desktop. 1996 was the first time I saw the beginnings of a local area network. 1998, we get the definition of cyberspace. And so in that 20 years, we have seen such a growth in this business that now we are talking in terms of domains. And that's the other thing that General Schisler wanted to pass along, was that in this cyber domain now that we have, it's more than just what we once considered the linking of networks. It's all networks. It is not just your computers or your cells or your communications networks. It is anything that can be networked. And that plays a very, very important role in how we organize and how we apply our military, our diplomatic, our informational, our economic power in the United States across that domain. And so as you think about this, our cognitive awareness of this domain becomes the tool that you have that's the advantage over your adversary. And as you come to that and you think about that and you look at the effects that you have been able to place into the cyberspace domain, you now have to think in a different way. It is going to be your challenge as a group to educate those above you. I know you've probably been told in the past that you're going to have to lead upward. As a result, your senior leaders, they really do get it. And I'll tell you about some of the things that Air Staff is working on right now. We understand where we think we need to take cyberspace. But at this point, you guys are the leading edge. You guys are at the point of a very exciting time where you can shape the future. When we talk about domains in this sense, just like air, land, sea, space, cyber has become the new arena. And as you look at the former theorists for sea power, for example, you look at Mahanian theory of sea control, of lines of communications, and Corbett's sea control. For any of you who've read on that stuff, you look at how we can handle cyberspace, because it is not something you can control in its entirety. That you're going to control your lines, you're going to control where you need to be at the point in time and space that you're going to execute the activity that you're performing. But you folks are going to develop the theory that goes with that. Out here today, look around you. You're going to see the future Jomini, the Mahan, the Corbett, the Mitchell, the Dick Seversky, the Schriever, who are going to determine what the future of cyberspace looks like and how we're going to operate it. For those of you who didn't know the last three, anybody? Review? Okay. Get into the PME early. It really helps. All right. Where we are now with the Air Staff. As you're fully aware, we've had some shakeups at the top. We lost our secretary and we lost our chief, who were very strong advocates of cyberspace and operations in cyberspace. However, the new administration has come on. General Schwartz was confirmed on Friday. And today, as a matter of fact, before I hopped on the airplane to come down here, we were briefing up General Darnell, our Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations and Plans, to take forward a brief to General Schwartz on where we think our options are in the future of cyberspace. We're having to contend with several issues at this point, and two very specific reports that some of you may not be aware of. Schlesinger, the Honorable Mr. Schlesinger, he headed up the nuclear enterprise review after we had some problems with sending a few parts to Taiwan and flying bombers to Barksdale with loaded nukes. And so This report will be coming out probably around August 8th, and it, we feel, will be very directive in nature as to how we're going to organize our nuclear forces. What does that mean for cyberspace? Well, as we go along, it means that given the level of management level headquarters that we're able to have at any one time, if they tell us to stand up a nuclear command, if you will, that will take a bite out of other commands' headquarters allotments. So it may force us to consider other options for cyberspace and for the organization that will lead it. That's still up in the air. Colonel Button and I have had long conversations in recent weeks on where we think this is going to go, and we've put several options on the table, and we're anxiously awaiting our leadership's decision as to how we're going to do it. So, other things, our career force development piece has been moving along steadily. We published a roadmap to Cyber Force SEIs, if you will, to give you guys identifiers that will allow cyber warriors to be tracked throughout the course of your career and to ensure proper utilization after your training occurs. Other things coming up on the horizon, there is currently a DCR, a .mil-PF change request in place put out by Stratcom. It's going to the Joint Staff on the 14th. That is going to hopefully help provide some funding to stand up our new Air Force undergraduate cyber warfare training with possible locations in Keesler and a few others, but it's to the tune of almost $68 million over FIDA. And that's money that doesn't have to come out of our budget. That's not offset money. So there are things in the works. This is getting very, very strong attention, and your Air Force leadership recognizes how important this is to our nation's ability to execute its national interests. So that's the news of the Air Staff right now. Now, as far as some leadership points for you, we've already heard a bit about change. Change is a way of life, and we all know that. But one of the key changes that I'd like to challenge you to look at is this idea of cyber warrior culture. The old way of thinking, where you look at networks from a very technocratic viewpoint, has to be transformed into the view of a cyberspace warrior that executes, again, operations in and through cyberspace. That you're not just a technician, that you are a warrior, that you have a role to play as an operator. And that is key to the understanding of how we are shaping our Air Force of the future. Without the inculcation of the operator and the warrior mentality, we lose value. We can't execute the nation's work without that ability. And it comes back to the core values that you heard mentioned earlier. Those things shape the type of force that you will become. And I look around the room today and I'm very pleased with what I see. You've shown some great, great work here. You have committed to a level of excellence, both mentally and physically. You've challenged yourself across the board and come out smelling good. So you have my hearty congratulations for that. It's interesting times. Changes are ahead. The way we shape and the way we form the next 6 months to a year will give us probably the future of cyberspace for the next 20 to 30 years. I'm confident in saying that because once these things get set in place, they're kind of tough to change. So we got to make sure we do it right the first time. And that's our challenge with the Air Staff. And with the help of everybody else in the room, with all of our partners within Air Force Cyber Command Provisional and Stratcom and everybody else who has a stake in the cyber play, we're going to try and make the right choice. So I'm going to refer to my notes one more time to make sure I didn't forget what my boss told me to say. But I think I've covered that. The best thing I can tell you guys is that you are about to enter into a world that you have not yet dreamed of. There will be things out there that will come of age within your lifetime that you will have no concept of today. Be ready for that. As you go forth now and become commissioned officers of the United States Air Force, you will have leadership challenges that are constant, and you will rise to the occasion. I'm very confident. There are things that you should also, always consider the fact that you will be educating. You will be leading from below. You will be leading because, like I said, your senior guys get it, but the mid-level guys still are working on it. and it's your job to help them out. And that will be a challenge across the board. Lastly, the most important thing you can do along the way is don't forget the group of people that sit in this room here. Don't forget the staff that sits up here. These are your networks. When I talk networks and you think of networks, we all can put different pictures together, but the most important network you'll ever build are the relationships that you have within your cadre of friends, relationships, co-workers, colleagues. And I'm not talking just in the Air Force. Stimulate these things from within industry, military, academia, think tanks. Think across the board and across all the levels of influence that can supply you with the ideas and vet your ideas. Collaboration is a great thing. I was telling in my past life at NGA, when I would hire young interns and new hires right out of school, right out of tech school, one of the key questions they always asked me was, what kind of collaborative tools do you use? And if I said email, that was the last thing I got to say to the person. Because they were going, and I hate to be labeled like this, but I was labeled as being just so 20th century. So, the generation that's used to texting everything, got Facebook accounts, everything like that, you guys know the way of cyber. So, teach your friends, teach your families, teach us where you think this is going. Be the theorist that you can be. Publish, write about what you do. Make sure that the entire world knows that the Air Force is in the cyber game. And in fact, just today, I'll tell you that the Navy published their plan on 1 October to stand up Navy Cyber Forces Command. And so everybody else has caught the wave.
Where did they get that?
What's that?
Where did they get that?
That'd be a good question, Whether we come up with the cyber command that we thought we were going to come up with here in the next few months or not, it doesn't deter us from what we need to do. We're still in the cyber fight. We're going to pursue cyber operations on behalf of our national interests, and you guys are going to lead us into that 21st century. So my hearty congratulations to you again. My congratulations to the staff here at ACE on producing such a quality group of individuals. I look forward to serving with you out in the field. And again, if you have any questions, please see me after. I'll be glad to talk to you. Don't want to talk anymore. And congratulations again. Thank you very much.
ACE Class of 2008, we'd like to present with you our gold coin. No excuses, no extensions, no exceptions.
Thank you very much.
Sure. I would like to invite Dr. Kamal Jabbour, Senior Scientist for Information Assurance, Information Director at Air Force Research Lab, to present the ACE Class of 2008.
In a recent sermon on gifts, Papa Whiskey, also known as Pastor Wendell, talked about the relationship between trust and faithfulness. When God trusts us with a gift, he said, He demands that we remain faithful to this gift. Some attributed the recent changes in the Air Force leadership to our unfaithfulness to the gifts in our trust, and consequently, our unfaithfulness to the Air Force core value of excellence. While the Air Force core values direct us to achieve excellence in all we do, they do not quantify excellence, and they do not give us a metric to tell us when we get there. I ask you, when does good enough become excellent? And how do we know that we're there? The Air Force Little Blue Book breaks down excellence into 5 material categories. Product and service excellence focuses on customer needs within the boundaries established by the taxpayer. Personal excellence by completing professional military education and staying in physical and mental shape. Community excellence, working together to reach a common goal. Resources excellence, ensuring the best possible cradle-to-grave management of resources. Operations excellence, in the way we do business both inside and outside the Air Force. The pursuit of excellence, a la Blue Book, trivializes the honor and the glory of the profession of arms. General George Patton said, "Wars may be fought with weapons, but they are won by men. It is the spirit of the man who leads that gains the victory." At the beginning of this course, we presented technical excellence as a core requirement for leadership. You must be excellent, you must know what you're talking about to lead upwards. We urge you to become experts in your field, that you might lead by influence. We challenged you intellectually and physically, and we pushed you repeatedly beyond your comfort zone. We trusted a pattern belief that by perseverance, study, and eternal desire, any man can become great. You responded with dedication and passion, and you demonstrated excellence in every aspect of the ACE. You might ask, what is excellence? The English dictionary defines it as eminence, exalted merit, superiority in virtue. These definitions imply a relative and comparative undertone where excellence measures what goes beyond normal goodness. How far beyond normal? By whose count? A Google search for the phrase "I am excellent" gave me 33,800 hits. When I looked for the term "you are excellent," I got 338,000 hits, 10 times as many. This supports my theory that the state of excellence is recognized and awarded, not presumed and declared. One cannot declare oneself excellent, somebody else has to declare you excellent. As I witnessed your growth over the past 73 days, I observed recurring evidence of your excellence. Eminence, exalted merit, superiority. You demonstrated excellence by solving progressively more challenging technical problems and exceeding the ACE norms of past years. You were the only group of whiners who said the problems were too easy. You demonstrated excellence by writing high-quality technical reports that exceeded the norms of graduate college students, and by delivering every single one of them on time, even though Solomon was in your midst. You demonstrated excellence by compiling a list of 168 cyber effects that the combatant commander can deliver across the spectrum of conflict. And you delivered this list to the STRATCOM commander on time, and got the thumbs up from them. You demonstrated excellence by running 8 miles every Thursday morning, not a mile and a half twice a year, often within a few hours of Lieutenant Spivak's idea of PT. You demonstrate excellence by looping back at the end of your run to lift up the stragglers and bring us home. You demonstrate excellence by creating from scratch the scenarios and the architecture for the Hackfest. Never mind that others want you to call them cyber war games. These were the best Hackfests we have ever had. You executed it flawlessly, and you saved the Air Force $180,000. You demonstrate excellence through personal sacrifice when we fail to pay you in a timely manner, if at all. Some may accuse me of bias for proclaiming your excellence in all you do, so I will introduce evidence and evidence the words of worthier leaders. Colonel Mark Cross, commander of the 26th, wrote that we have been totally impressed by the perspective and skills that ACE graduates bring to their assignments, and we request priority placement of ACE graduates into network warfare positions in the 67th Network Warfare Wing. Brigadier General Mark Schisler wrote, "You are smarter, more focused, and networked thanks to the ACE, and tonight you become cyber plank holders." And Lieutenant General Robert Elder referred to you as an elite initial cadre that will help us in achieving cyberspace dominance. I believe them. You are elite. Tonight, you join alumni from the past 5 years to constitute a cadre of 174 ACE graduates. You will become cyber officers, airmen, warriors, leaders. We entrust you with our United States Air Force, and we demand that you remain faithful to our core values of integrity first, service to others before self, and excellence in all you do. So without further ado, will the ACE-1 cadets please rise? Ten weeks ago, you traveled to Rome as the best and the brightest Air Force ROTC cadets in the nation. Your average GPA is 3.6 on a scale of 4. Faced with the problem, and we will surely give you plenty, you demonstrated an ability to formulate clear problem statement, make reasonable assumptions, apply proper techniques and tools, solve the problem to a certain depth, perform risk analysis, and deliver the solution on time. You demonstrated a can-do attitude by running 8 miles every Thursday morning and finishing exactly where you started. You demonstrated excellence in all you did. On Saturday, in a couple of days, you leave Rome as the future leaders of our United States Air Force. This year, 7 graduates of the 2007 ACE returned to Rome to mentor and help the ACE-1 cadets and to engage in a new program that we called ACE-2, the Strategic Context, to help us understand how to deliver effects in cyberspace. Will the ACE-2 cadets please stand and join the ACE-1 cadets? In addition to grading reports, preparing threat briefs, designing and executing both Mini Hackfest and the Capstone Hackfest, and studying the delivery of strategic cyber effects, you responded in a timely manner to a leadership call for help. You adapted to our tactical changes, found yourself doing a lot more than you had bargained for. You demonstrated excellence in all you did. In just a brief moment, I will ask the ACE-1 cadets to come forward, followed by the ACE-2 cadets. Please come in alphabetical order to receive your certificates, coins, and congratulations. We're going to start from that end. We're going to walk this way, and you're going to stand against the wall without blocking the camera, and then stay there until the end of the presentation for a class picture. I invite Dr. Hansen and Colonel Toomer and Major Bibbinghouse to join me in giving the awards. Richard Bay. Susan Collins. Christopher Cooper. Kyle Edison. Noah Firth. Mark Griffin. Dan Hunter. Everett White. Jonathan Walker. John Conan Wedgworth. David Rose. Reed Shintaki. Lane Spear. Sean Sullivan. Stephen Sukar. Joseph Chandra. Cataleya Wolf. Clark Wolf. And Andrew Zelig. For the H2 cadets, the certificate reads, you have demonstrated the ability to develop innovative operational concepts and courses of action, applying adaptive new technologies to ensure site dominance, and lead in the planning and conduct of cyber warfare to deliver certain options. William Dana. John Gottlieb. Amber Belton. Nicholas Blazon. Eric Listfuss. Solomon Sonia. Cody Vanderpool. Ladies and gentlemen, the ACE class of 2008.
At this time, I'd like to invite Ms. Sonia Glumich to the podium to announce the 2008 ACE Distinguished Graduates.
So this is my third year with the ACE program, and every year I'm always amazed at the quality of cadets that we have. I mean, not only are they excellent in terms of academics, when you look at their resumes, you see that they're involved in a wide variety of activities, from athletics to volunteer work to music, as we saw. So when we talk about a distinguished graduate, they're kind of the distinguished of the distinguished. So it really is a great feat to become a distinguished graduate of the ACE program. So I have the envelope, it's sealed, I don't even know what's in it, so I'll open it up and we'll see who the distinguished graduates are. I feel like I'm at the Emmys or something. All right, and I'll read what it says. Following military tradition, the ACE faculty identified the distinguished graduates for 2008 by compiling grades from the weekly reports and presentations, the 8-mile runs, the mini hack fests, the cyber war bowling, and the capstone cyber war games. For ACE 2 cadets, the faculty also took into consideration the contributions to mentoring and supervising ACE 1 cadets, work on setting up and executing the hack fest. So I am very pleased to announce that the distinguished graduates for the ACE 2008 are cadets Daniel Gunther, and Brian has a question for you. Mark Griffin, and David Rose. And distinguished graduates for ACE 2 are cadets John Guptill. Congratulations. And this person actually has a special place in my heart. I heard that he stayed up 3 nights while he was working on the scoring server. He was a very hard worker. And from the very moment that I met him, I knew he was special. Solomon Tanya. And those are the distinguished graduates.
You may be seated, cadets. Over the past 10 weeks, we shared a lot of time together, and Chris Cooper actually developed our slideshow, so please turn your attention to the back for the slideshow. Behind the scenes, dedicated to making sure that our class had everything we needed to do. So one at a time, we bought gifts, and we're going to recognize some of those key people. So if TJ and Brian would come up, as well as Cadet Spear and Cadet Hogan. And you have to open the gift here.
We gift you with the switches. These are working light switches. In addition, we also got you some Best Buy gift cards right in your technical hardware needs.
If Cadets Susan Collins and Stephanie would come up now, please.
Stephanie, we all know that you put plenty of work into ACE just as everyone else, so the cadets thought we'd get you a gift as well. Does she have
All right, well, he's not here tonight, but we also got something for Captain Boatberg. And when we came in, we saw he was wearing a World of Warcraft and also Star Wars shirt. So what we got him, a little Star Wars R2-D2. So hopefully it'll go on his desk. Make sure it's if Cadet Andrew Zelliff would come up and Simon Glubich.
Okay, so we really enjoyed our mini hacks every week because they really gave us a great opportunity to, actually find all that academic stuff to actual applications. So those were really excellent, and we absolutely enjoyed those. And I guess we'll keep talking here. Anyway, the board bowling that I know you helped put on and everything, it was great. We all enjoyed it. I'm never going to be able to drive through another neighborhood without thinking, can I crack this place open? So, in recognition of your excellence in preparation for everything, we got you a certificate of excellence, which we will have signed for you later.
If Cadet David Rose and Gina would come forward now, please.
In honor of all the sleep you lost over doing all the things you've done for us, decided to get you a coffee maker for the caffeine was really. So we're going to autograph this so you can, think of us when you look at it.
Now to recognize someone that lived on our floor the whole experience, if Colonel Chasen would come forward and Cadet Richard Bay.
So Colonel Chasen lived on our floor most of our stay at ACE, and he watched over us and mentored us. And although that room is now gone, he will always have a place in our hearts. So we'd like to thank you with a very memorable Chuck mug. Hopefully it'll help you make up for 10 weeks of 26 sober cadets.
Now Cadet Joe Turndrup and Cadet John Cronenwetter would come up, and Colonel Wieners.
Well, sir, we know you talked about happy hour a lot, and we were never really sure which kind you were talking about, so we figured you either need this or you'd be napping. So we thought we'd cover both.
In about 2 hours, I'm going to use this, and in 2 hours and 15 minutes, I'll
And final, last but not least, Cadet Firth will recognize Dr. J.
Many of you might know that Dr. J drives quite possibly the world's least economical car. He's making sure he makes his dent on the environment. And by dent, I mean dead and completely filled with carbon dioxide. So we decided on behalf of all the cadets here that we would get you a car that's very, very similar, but maybe the only impact would be a couple batteries. So we'd like you to present you with a radio-controlled GM Hummer 3.
The final group I'd like to recognize tonight spent the whole time on our floor. They were our GAs, if they would stand up right now. This GAs, as you heard, Solomon put in a lot of time. All of them put in a lot of time. So please, if you would applaud them for spending their summer with us. Finally, it is my sincere pleasure to invite Cadet Kyle Erickson to the podium. Our class has selected him as our valedictorian to represent us and close the ceremony this evening.
Before I begin, I would like to take a moment to honor a very influential person for the ACE program. For the past 4 years, Dr. Donald Hansen has shown unwavering support for us cadets and the ACE program. Dr. Hansen, for your service to the program, the ACE class of 2008, I'd like to make you an honorary graduate of the ACE 2008 class. We ask that Dr. Hansen please come to the podium for a presentation of our ACE program. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. Thank you all for coming tonight to this very special occasion. I'll try to make this short so Colonel Wieners may go to happy hour, aka nap time. We cadets have had a remarkable summer. This has been a summer of learning, stress, and hard work. Together, we were able to overcome the toughest problems and complete every project. No excuses, no extensions, no exceptions. Many people in the world go through rigorous education programs, but many do not compare to ACE. Our weekly reports routinely numbered over 20 pages long. We all have friends that write and grumble about 20-page reports they must write for an entire semester. Tough luck. Throughout the past 10 weeks, we cadets have gone through a remarkable education program. We all came here thinking we'd leave as elite hackers that can schwack any box on the internet. Well, we may have not learned that, but we have learned many amazing things. How many people in the world can say they know how to giraffe a stack? Not many. How many know how to schwack a box? Who understands the meaning of mustachery like us? Coming to ACE, none of us thought we would have to do any math. Boy, were we wrong. Dr. Chin and Dr. Old provided us with their textbook and gave us many problems to complete. We grumbled and moaned, but we got the job done. Despite the grumbling, we did prove, and get signed by Dr. Chin, mind you, a proof that if you have a mustache, you are the man. Unfortunately, we have 3 cadets from Baylor University that refuse to enter our club of mustache. He's one of them. None of us thought we would have as little sleep as we did. One requirement of ACE is a complete lack of sleep and the need for multiple cups of coffee. You know you need a lot of rest when you fall asleep standing. Trust me, I know. ACE has made us cadets champions at many things. We understand how to configure firewalls, intrusion detection systems, web, DNS servers, and many other services. And one thing we were most proud of, we can LSAS and RPC-DCOM like no other. Myself Myself, John Cronenweider, and David Rose know the power of these two attacks very well. We pwned poor Steven Suteras and Clark Olson-Peter all day during the hack test. Sorry guys, but you deserved it. ACE not only educated us to think as hackers, but the program took an extra step and educated us to be the future leaders of the Air Force. It was remarkable to see how so many people from all over the country were able to come together and work as a team to solve many complex problems. Despite being split up into 6 different teams, we came together as a class and helped each other complete all the tasks assigned to us. Colonel Wieners, you did a very remarkable job educating our class about the duties and responsibilities of Air Force leaders. Our officer development lectures and staff rides provided knowledge and insight into how to act as leaders in this new domain we call cyberspace. Our trips to Gettysburg and Fort Ticonderoga helped us understand the sacrifice and hardships of those who have come before us. Only by understanding the sacrifice of those from the past and their tactics and strategies employed can we understand how to employ cyber warfare in the coming of a new revolution in military affairs. Despite having a stressful and demanding schedule, we did manage to have a lot of fun, as you saw in our slideshow. We played volleyball constantly until we were told not to use the old base housing volleyball court. It's an unfortunate day. I don't know how, but no one got hurt by thrown or kicked balls. Although, Katie Wolf always seemed to be in the crossfire of those. How she dodged some of the fast ones, no one knows. Many of us traveled during the 4th of July weekend. Some of us went to New York City and walked all around. Some decided to walk around in Queens at night and almost get robbed. Someone even got shafted on the street and wound up with a few signed hip-hop albums. Others decided to travel to the Adirondacks and go camping for a bit. Somehow, an hour and a half camp ride turned out to be a 5-hour trek that required a stop at a different campsite. Well, the camping consisted of making fires to cook a meal, and then we'd start making a fire to prepare for the next meal. We still don't know how, but 6 of us managed to eat 3 pounds of bacon in one morning. While there, we all learned the phrase, man up. We also had much fun running 8 miles every Thursday morning. I remember telling people before I came to ACE the amount of running we would be doing. I remember the response, why do you need to do that much running at nerd camp? What are you going to do? Strap a laptop to your chest and hack people while you run by? Of course we didn't do that. But I know we can. Perhaps next year, instead of word driving, cadets can do forward running. At this point, I would like all ACE cadets, including the graduate assistants, to stand up. Together, we will be at the front lines providing defense for America's computer networks. We will be the leaders the Air Force needs to secure our cyber assets. To quote John Boyd, in every war, there are military bases where activities are so secret that few people outside the base know what goes on. That's how our operations are going to be like. Our operations may not be noticed, but the adversary will feel our effects. We must always remember that in this new domain, failure is not an option. Please be seated. On behalf of the ACE class, I would like to thank all of you in attendance tonight. But before we part tonight, I feel I must remind all ACE cadets that really, it's hack or be hacked. This concludes our graduation ceremony. ACE 2008, class dismissed.